Welcome to the webinar about the master's program in industrial engineering and management at Aalto University. My name is Jens Schmidt. I'm the director of the program. I'm working as an associate professor of strategic management at the Department of Industrial Engineering and Management. And today I would like to walk you through the program. So I will tell you a bit about the program and the content of the program, what to expect of studying in our program. I will give a brief overview of our department and some of the faculty that is teaching in the program. Then you will also hear a bit about our student and alumni community. And I will say also something about the job opportunities and give you some idea about what, as an alumni or a graduate of our program, the kind of things, the kind of jobs that you could be doing. And then a few words about the admission. And finally, I will also say a few words about Aalto University. So in a nutshell, what our program does is it educates the leaders and the future change makers. So individuals who really know what it takes to create, lead, and transform technology-based businesses. So briefly, our program is at the intersection of management and business on the one hand, and technology and engineering on the other hand. And our approach here in our program at Aalto University is unique in the sense that we combine three areas. So at the core, we have operations management, which is about the efficiency and taking a wider perspective on supply chains that are nowadays globally distributed. And you see it also now with the effect of COVID-19, that the supply chains, if they don't work so well, they might actually really have a big effect on our lives. So in our program, you will really take a deep dive and understand how these work. Then the second area is strategy and venturing, which is about taking a holistic perspective and considering value creation and innovation, both within firms, but also then within ecosystems, so taking a wider perspective. And then finally, organization design and leadership. So this covers topics like agile organizations that are able to adapt quickly, leading people, and creating change. So just briefly, our program has these elements. So it's a 2-year program with 120 credits. And there's a major worth 45 credits. And there are 3 majors that you can choose from. So 1 from each of the areas, but then there's also a lot of courses that go across these 3 majors, but you would specialize in one of those majors. Then you would take a minor, which is worth 20 credits. And there's plenty of options to choose from. There are electives where you're pretty free to choose from. And then finally, a thesis that is on a topic related to your major. So in a nutshell, and I will go deeper into some of those later, but in a nutshell, the reasons to join our program. So first of all, as a graduate from the program, you will have practical problem solving and strong analytical skills and really understand how technologies and business processes are connected. So this interconnection, how they're connected to value creation and competitive advantage. So really this connection between business and management on the one side and technology and engineering on the other side, that is really at the core of the program. But then our program actually offers a lot of flexibility in choosing the study options. We have a very strong community around the program, which involves the faculty, students, and our alumni. And finally, there's lots of practical involvement. Companies are very close to the program and they are involved in different ways. And typically you would also write your master's thesis for a company. So To dig a bit deeper into the structure of the program, so the major, which is the core of the program, has a set of common courses. So at the core, we have advanced operations management. And as a second core course, we have a course that has been recently created, creating value with analytics. So that takes a deep dive into the use of analytics to solve business problems. So you basically get a toolbox, analytical tools to solve problems. And these courses, they have become very popular and very well rated. So these are really the core courses, the common core courses of our program. And then a third core course is more of an integrative course. So we will do a few activities right in the beginning when the program starts, because we have students coming from different channels and from different programs that they have taken their bachelor in different programs. And some of the students might already know each other, many don't know each other. So we're going to integrate the students, and we're going to have a series of workshops also together with faculty. So you will get to know the professors and lecturers in the program. A workshop with alumni, so you will also meet alumni of the program. And also then part of this course is to think a bit about and reflect a bit about what does it now mean, once you graduate with a master's degree. So what to do then? How to get a good start into your career, and how to reflect about what it actually means to be a professional in industrial engineering and management. So these are the common core courses. And in addition to that, we have 3 core courses for each of the majors. So these core courses, then they cover a range of topics that allows you to take a deep dive into each of the topics, into each of the 3 majors. And in addition, there's a research assignment. So you will learn how to do research that also prepares you for the master's thesis, but the topic would be related also to your major. And then to fill up the rest of the credits, to get the 45 credits, there's a long list of optional courses that you can choose from. So there's quite a bit of flexibility here in choosing your course portfolio. And then in addition to the major, you will also have to do a minor. And again, there's a lot of options that you can choose from. So for example, machine learning, systems operations research, computer science, mechanical engineering, industrial internet, neuroscience and technology, biosystems, biomaterials, advanced materials and photonics, energy technology. And this is not the full list. So there are more options that you can choose from. So this then allows for a pretty interesting combination that I would say. So you can take a deep dive then into one topic that really interests you. And then, as said, the master's thesis would also typically be related to a topic of the major. Now, this is the structure that we will have from 2022 on. And for the current structure, there's a link here that you can follow and check how the program is structured. So what we typically do every other year is that we update the program. We always look at the latest trends. We talk to different people, for example, our alumni, about how to adapt our program so that we meet the needs and include the latest topics. So we're always keeping our program up to date, and sometimes that means changing the portfolio of courses, but then also all the courses, even though the course itself does not change as being part of the program. The courses themselves, they always change, and we always update them to reflect the latest developments. So now in our master's program, especially, we are really at the edge, and we talk about the latest technologies, and we also have the experts that really know about these topics. So here are some of the benefits from studying in our program in a bit more detail. So one of the benefits really is that our program is really close to practice, and it is so in several ways. So in many courses, you would do an assignment for company. So company comes in and provides a problem, and then you solve the problem, typically in groups, and then present the solution to the company, and then also get feedback. Then in many companies, we have representatives from companies as guest speakers. And as I already said, the master's thesis are typically written for a company. So you're actually solving a real life problem as part of the master's thesis. And because the master's thesis is a 30 credit unit, which is a quarter of your studies, so this is supposed to take 6 months full-time work. So you really go quite deep here into the topic. But then also, of course, that leads to the benefit that you are building a good basis. Quite often, our students, after graduation, they continue working for the company for which they have already done the master's thesis. But then also these other involvements of companies in courses, they allow to build contacts that you can then use later on, for example, to get a job. In addition to this involvement in our teaching, there are also other opportunities to get engaged with companies. So we have other courses that are not a core part of our program. So some of them can be included as optional courses or electives. So we have courses on entrepreneurship and innovation. Then I will say more about that a bit later, but our students organize a lot of activities. For example, company excursions. And there are also many events on campus where you can meet companies. And finally, the startup scene in Finland is actually quite close to our activities. So there are activities on the campus. There are opportunities to be involved. For example, there is Slush, which is a 2-day conference for startup growth companies, entrepreneurs. And it's actually quite large. It has traditionally had over 10,000 participants. So it's now again organized this year. So there, of course, have been challenges organizing it during the pandemic. And many of our students are actually working as volunteers in Slush, because Slush is actually completely organized and run by students. And there are also many other activities related to startups happening on campus. So there are plenty of opportunities to be involved and to be close to practice and get involved with actual, meet people from companies, but also then being involved with actual startups building something. In fact, there are also some of our students that are involved in actually creating companies. So they are founders while they study. So we also have a few of those. So there are plenty of opportunities to be involved. Then another benefit of our program is the flexibility that you have when you study. So as I already said, you have different majors and different minors to choose from. Within the majors, you have optional courses. The minors also might allow for some flexibility. And then you have 25 credits of elective studies. And there you are quite free in choosing courses as long as they are at the appropriate level, so that they are master level courses. But they don't need to be connected to the topic of the program. So Aalto University offers many courses, but then also you can in principle include courses from other universities here, which nowadays is also with the online remote option that might also be easier to take this kind of courses. So if you're interested in some course, build your skills in a certain domain, then this is an opportunity to then also include the credits in your degree. So these opportunities include arts, philosophy, languages, product development, startups, innovation. Or you can also use this 25 credits for including a second minor. Or finally, you can also include practical training as part of the elective studies. Here's one brief example of a new initiative that we are just building now. So we are piloting this next spring. And this is just one example. So there are many similar programs that sometimes are a bit hard to find, because this is a huge university and all the programs, they are marketing themselves, but you might not get the message. So you have to be open and talk to people to see what are really the options here. But so this is one example what we're now building. So this is a program around the topic of health tech. So the health tech industry, we select, well, it's a relatively small program. So we select 16 students from different disciplines. So if you get accepted into our program, then you would also be eligible to apply to this program, or it's a kind of like a mini program, and it is also going to be organized as a minor. But we're now piloting it next spring, and the idea is that you would get a deep dive into the health tech industry, which includes health tech services, pharma, and medical devices. So if you're interested in that particular industry, at least broadly, then this could be an interesting opportunity to really get to know the industry in depth, build contacts. So there's also going to be a lot of involvement with companies. So part of this is solving a practical problem as an innovation challenge. But then there's also a lot of company visits and engagement with the local ecosystem on the topic in at least in Finland, and we're also making some international connections here. So this is just one example of the kind of programs or the kind of additional opportunities that you have when you come to study here. So this can be included in the program, so you can get credits for this, and you just need to find what is suitable for you. So there are many similar activities that you can participate in. But many of those are then also a bit selective, so you also need to apply, and you also need to inform yourself early enough that this is actually happening. So now I want to still tell you a bit about our department and the faculty. So we have about 60 to 70 master level graduates per year from our program. We have 24 professors and lecturers that teach in this program. These people also teach in some other programs. So we're also offering our courses to other students from other programs. So in our courses, you might then also meet students from other programs and work together with them. For example, if you have a group project in the course. So some of those courses are then that they have also quite multidisciplinary set of students taking part in the course. And we have also quite international teaching staff. So our teaching staff comes from different countries. I myself, I'm originally from Germany. And as I already said, we have these excellent connections to industry. So many of our faculty, we are also involved in research projects with companies. And these research projects, then they sometimes, not always, but sometimes then they also have a connection to teaching. So we might then bring in those projects and those companies into the courses, or then the students could also, in some cases, take part in these projects. So here's just a few examples, so just to make sure that you see some names and some faces of some of the teachers in our program. So for example, Marina, her specialty is corporate entrepreneurship. So she has been working with some large Finnish companies on the topic, and she's also bringing in those companies very actively in her courses. So in her courses, you would then work in groups with a company on some innovation related project in an established company. Peter Kelly, he's a lecturer in our department, and you could also say that he's, well, the godfather of entrepreneurship in Finland. At least he has been one of the persons who has been teaching entrepreneurship for many years. So already in the late 90s, and he has actually inspired many entrepreneurs from our program to then start their businesses. And I will show you some examples later about those companies. So what kind of companies those are. So we have this topic of entrepreneurship is quite close to our heart and also quite close to our operations. So we have been working with this topic for many years, and also doing research, but then also on the practice side and in our teaching. Then Lauri, his domain of expertise is operations management, and especially an analytics perspective on operations management. So looking at data and how to improve the operations if you have information, if you have data about the operations. And he's now also been recently doing some research on the effect of COVID-19 on global supply chains. Then we have Timo. He's a strategy professor, and he's taking a bit more of a micro perspective, a more psychological perspective on strategy. He has been interviewing many people in Nokia over the years. So he has studied in depth about the question why Nokia failed. And so that also has been published, and he has raised a lot of interesting discussion. So he really has a close insight on that, and it's a legendary failure, since Nokia was quite well positioned for many years in the smartphone industry, until Apple and Android then came along. And so we have quite some, or traditionally also had quite some connections to Nokia. So we have also the first-hand insights on what actually happened in that company. And I would also say that typically it's more interesting to learn from failure than to learn from success. When you're successful, it's always easy to say, yes, great, things are going well, I did a great job. But if you fail, then you really have to ask questions and think about, okay, what actually went wrong. And Natalia, her area is entrepreneurial leadership. She's also teaching a course on change management. So this is also, so you see we actually cover quite a range of topics here. So the majors, that's only the higher level. If you look into what we're actually doing at the level of courses and also at the level of the individuals, we have quite interesting mix of of people here covering different but also related topics. So it's good to look at topics from different perspectives. So finally, we have Nina, whose specialty is organization design. So for example, one of the things that she's looking at in her research is the future of work. And of course, this is also a very interesting topic when it comes to, for example, analytics, data, well, remote work now after COVID-19. So there's interesting things happening. So these topics of operations management at the core, and then strategy, entrepreneurship, organization design, leadership, they all come together quite nicely, I would say, in our program. Good. So let's move on to talking a bit about our students and alumni. So we have a quite active student guild, which is called Prodeco. So Prodeco organizes many events. So here's a few links that you can take a look at, so you get some idea about what are all the activities that Prodeco is organizing. So there are like company visits, for example, excursions. There's mentoring. So alumni actually come back and help the current generation of students. So there's an opportunity to discuss about experiences and ask questions from our alumni. But then we also have a quite good relationship with the students here. So we really involve the students in, for example, planning our teaching. We're regularly meeting with them to get feedback on how things work, what works well, what doesn't, and then we organize joint activities. So we have a quite close relationship. So it's really, sometimes these words like community, they don't mean much, but in our case we really do have a quite close community with our students, but then also with our alumni. So our alumni, of course, they come, for example, as guest lecturers. So of course we have those relationships, so it's easy for us to bring in experienced professionals and also very successful alumni into our courses in different forms. But in addition to that, we also organize some other activities with them. So for example, there's a yearly seminar that we organize together with the alumni. So we talk about then a current topic, so have discussions. So it's a bit of, informing yourself, seeing what's going on, what do different people say and think. But then also that's an opportunity for networking. And what our students have done a few years ago, so they have thought about what are actually the values of our community, and they have come up with 5 values. And again, sometimes these values, they don't mean much, but here in this case, I can say that these are actually very good values, because they nicely represent the way things actually are and the way we think. And when I say we, I mean we as a community. So these values here: thinking big, getting things done. So this kind of attitude that we do things and we try out what works, using some common sense. Learning and grow. So not think you know it all, but continuing to develop yourself. Giving back. So really thinking about the community, not being selfish, but if you are successful, then thinking about, okay, how can I actually give back something, so contribute something back. And finally, being a good person. So integrity, trustworthiness. So these are really, I can say these are really the values of the community, and we see them really reflected in what we do. So we see that, for example, when the alumni, they're coming back, they're giving back. So they are really involved, and they're very interested, and they're very, very happy to work with the current generation of students. And there's a lot of initiative. So we do think big, and we also always aim at getting things done. Of course, when you try to get things done, not everything always works, but it's good to experiment. And finally, being a good person. I think this is actually quite important, especially given that in our program, quite many of our graduates actually are, let's say, quite successful in their careers. But then also they're also the kind of people who really, you can say, they are good persons, as they are described here. So this brings me now to the job opportunities. So I just want to give you a bit of an overview of what kind of jobs our graduates actually take. So we have here, for example, Risto Siilasmaa, who has been quite successful as an entrepreneur. So his company was then listed on the stock exchange, and he later became the chairman of Nokia during the difficult times. So while he was chairman, that was the time when Nokia bought out Siemens from the joint venture that they had created on the networks, and then a bit later sold the mobile phone business to Microsoft. Those are very difficult decisions, not only for the company, but also for the Finnish society as a whole. And he was the person to actually be ultimately responsible for those decisions. And Nokia as a company still exists. It doesn't make phones anymore, but it's now a network, a mobile or phone network company. And probably without him, there might not be Nokia anymore. It might not exist anymore. So I have a few more examples about companies that our alumni have founded in a minute. But then here are a few other examples. So Maria, for example, she's a director responsible for strategy and transformation at KONE. So KONE is one of the leading elevator manufacturers in the world. And this is also a quite typical position that she has. So many of our graduates are also in this kind of strategy director or strategy coordinator role. So in actually quite a few of the large Finnish companies, our graduates are the ones who are really coordinating the strategy process. So which also means that they're working quite close with the top management and the CEOs of these companies. Then we have Pasi here, who is a CEO, but a CEO of a smaller company. So this is a startup, or well, a growth company. It's not so new anymore. But what's interesting is that he has also graduated quite recently, and I think he was also already working. I think he was even working as the CEO of the company while he was still studying. So it's just an example that many of our graduates also work in executive positions in startups or growth companies, whether they are co-founders or whether they have joined the company at a later stage. Then we have Audrey. So she's originally from Canada. She's also working at KONE. So her job title, operational planning manager, that's, I would say, also quite typical entry position after graduating. Then we have Angelica, who came from Mexico, started in our program 2 years ago. And she's now working as a consultant for the Boston Consulting Group. And this is also quite typical entry position. So quite many of our graduates are working for consulting companies, and many also for some of the big ones like BCG or McKinsey or Bain. And then finally we have Tung, who's a data engineer at Usician, which is also a recent startup or growth company. So you see, there's quite a range of jobs that you could take after graduation, and so be that in a more operational role, in an analysis or analyst role, consulting role, in an executive position. So all of these are possible. So the range of options is, I would say, quite large. So now I still want to show you a few of the companies that our alumni have founded. So you might be even familiar with at least Supercell. Maybe you have played Clash of Clans at some point. So this is a company that was co-founded by our alumni, and I think it was even the first European recent growth company valued at over 10 billion. So first they sold part of the company to SoftBank, the Japanese company, and nowadays the company is owned, the majority owned by Tencent, one of the large Chinese internet companies. A second example is NordCloud, which is a cloud service company which was growing quite fast. It was actually started by an alumni from our program who originally came from El Salvador, and it was recently sold to IBM. And then finally, Relex. So Relex is a company in retail logistics and basically retail logistics analytics. So it's a software company, and it's a company that was founded as part of a research project about, I think, 15 years ago in our department. So it was a few, some of them were also graduates from our program, and then they were doing research work after graduating, and some of them pursuing their PhD, but I don't think any of those ever got their PhD because they started this company from the research project, helping companies, retailers, to optimize their logistics. And they also are growing quite nicely now all around the globe. They got a $200 million investment 2 years ago, so they're now really scaling up globally. So these are just some of the more prominent examples of the companies that our alumni or our graduates have founded. And in some cases, companies are already founded by our current students, and there's many more examples of companies founded by our students or alumni. Good. So that much now about the program. Now, of course, you are also interested in the requirements that we have for admission. So the first thing, of course, is your previous academic performance. So we typically expect you to be among the best students in your home university, and we also consider the quality of the institution where you got your prior degree. And then that is, of course, the second important issue. What is the content of your prior studies? So what we typically expect is a Bachelor of Science in some field of engineering or an equivalent degree. So you will see more information about this on the program page online. So it actually details the kind of courses that we would expect you to have taken. So even if you don't have the degree in a particular field of engineering, but if you can still show that you have these set of courses, then you are also eligible for being admitted. But then also we expect that you have at least 25 credits already of business or management studies included in your degree, because some of the courses already at the beginning when you start your studies, they assume that you have a basic knowledge about management, how companies work, how business works, and so on. And then what we're also looking at is your motivation and commitment for the degree studies. So we're going to take a look at a motivation letter and your CV. And finally, there might be other things that you want to highlight that could be a plus. So if you have other relevant skills, knowledge, achievements, any prizes, any initiatives, any positions that you have held earlier, so let us know, and we will then also take that into account in the selection. But the selection, I have to say, is competitive. Then, of course, I want to mention that there is a tuition fee for students from outside the EU or EEA area, but we do have scholarships available. And all this information is available on our websites. So we have a website for our program, and then there's also other information about the admissions. So any question related to the admission, this is something that then you will need to send a message to our admissions office to so then they will be able to give you an answer. And here is the contact information that where you can find how to contact our admissions people. So everything that relates to the application, the admission criteria, the tuition fees, scholarships. So they will be able to tell you more about that. But the application period is always once a year, so December until typically early January. So that much about the program. So I still want to say a few words about Aalto University and why to come here. So Aalto University it's a pretty good university. It's a quite young university, was founded only in 2010 as part of a merger of 3 other universities. It's one of the highest ranked young universities in the world, so it's among the top 10. It's actually quite international, so we have a lot of our students and also faculty is international. And I already said a few things about the community around our program, but there's also the wider community within Aalto, and there are plenty of opportunities to be involved and to meet people and to do interesting things. So as I said, the startup scene is quite close to Aalto University. Many things happening on the campus, and there are plenty of opportunities once you have your degree. It's actually quite nice around here. So we're close to the sea, so the campus is actually located on a peninsula, and you can't even go swimming in summer. There's also one like a sauna, like I don't know if they still organize student events there, which is on the campus. So you can go swimming in the sea. In winter, the sea is going to be frozen, so you can do cross-country skiing then on the ice. So it's quite, so the quality of life is quite good around here, and there's great opportunities for research, where like research is at a quite high level. So for example, if you're interested in certain topics as a minor, so you might also be working with really world-class people there. And even though the campus is outside of Helsinki, the city center, it's quite easy to reach by metro, especially it's like a bit more than 10 minutes and you're downtown. And really, we're really emphasizing the topic of sustainability here, and we're close to nature. So this is definitely a very nice place to be in, to live in, but also more generally Finland. So if you would be moving from outside of Finland, Finland is actually a quite nice country to live in. It's quite safe to be here. People are quite relaxed and pragmatic. High level of equality. World famous for education. Also ranks highest in terms of the happiness of people, and it's also quite easy to get around here in English. So I can say that the quality of life is generally very high here, and it's pleasant, and things work quite well here. So of course you might not get the same salaries here as a graduate as you might get in let's say Silicon Valley or some other larger places. But then on the other hand, I think the quality of life and the easiness of just living here more than compensates for that. So I would really recommend that. And I've been living here now for over 15 years, and I'm actually very, very happy here. So now there's an opportunity for you to ask questions. So if you have a question, then please write it in the chat, and I will then answer those questions. So the first question is about conversion of college credits to ECTS. So this is something on the practicalities here. I guess this relates to the admission. That this is a question that you would need to direct at the admissions people, how to show how your credits translate into ECTS credits. Seems right now there are no other questions. So the cost of living, I don't have the exact numbers here, and I think there's also information about this online. So one thing I can say, well, the two things about cost of living. So I cannot give you directly a number. So the basic cost of living might be above, let's say, EU average. So some things are a bit more expensive here. But then housing, for example, even though it probably is, it has gotten quite expensive also elsewhere. But I would say that one benefit here is definitely that there are opportunities to also get subsidized housing. So the university or some organizations actually offer that. So you might need to apply, and I don't know about the process, but there are also these opportunities to get subsidized housing. It seems there are no other questions. So let me still wait 1 minute. Yes, a question about exam grades. And yes, so this is again a question that you will need to ask from the admissions office, how we deal with what shows on your certificates and how that is interpreted, or what you should communicate to us, so that we don't misunderstand. Good. Yeah. So there's no more questions. So this question, I'm not quite sure if I misunderstood about the ability to retake exams. Yeah. So this is here in our program. So there are actually relatively few courses where you take an exam nowadays. So we emphasize other parts. So for example, group work, individual assignments, presentations, participation in case discussions. So we have quite a mix of teaching methods. So there might be case discussions, assignments, and then those are being evaluated. So there are not very many courses with an exam, but if you have an exam, then you are able to retake it if you're not happy with your grade, and also you can take the same course again and improve your grade. So that is possible. Yes, also one question about this health tech. So this is to clarify about the health tech. So this was just an example of a course or a kind of mini program that is available. So there are other ones that are similar. Now this particular one is it's a new one, and we are piloting it in spring next year. And so if you would join our program in autumn a year, then you would be able to take that then in the following year. And because we are now piloting it, I cannot really say a lot more about the admission and the application procedure. But just generally, so if you would be admitted to our program, there are these opportunities that sometimes are difficult to find. So it's good to start early to look for them. And sometimes they have an application deadline that then you need to be aware of. So then you just need to look around. Good. If there are no more questions, then thank you. And for any further questions, then either get in touch with the admissions office, or then you can also find my contact information on our on the department websites, and then let me know. Good. All right. Thank you.